truck with, I have a note on it. He had no idea how to sell the truck, but he knew it started with just cleaning out the truck, taking the photos. That's all free. He could put it on Craigslist. That's free. Those are like the first steps. So that relates to kind of like how he got started in real estate and how I did too. I had no prior knowledge on it, but I knew that first step was just reading, researching, looking at properties. That's all free. You're not paying anything to go look at properties until really you get an offer accepted, and then you pay for the home inspection. So that's kind of like, that's how I got started in it. And
It's funny how like all entrepreneurs get started around the same, it's like the same story over and over again. The exact same way he got started is the same way I got started. I used to drive to the Cape. It was like an hour drive. So I just wanted to be productive. I would listen to podcasts on the way up. And obviously the podcast I was listening to was Bigger Pockets. And that's where I learned the BRRRR method. And I really wanted to get into real estate. So that's funny that you said the exact same thing. I've read Millionaire Next Door. Richest Man in Babylon is also a good book. I don't know if you read that one. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a really great book. For those of you who are listening, who haven't read it yet, I would 100% recommend it. It talks about how to get out of the rat race, basically, and live the life that you want to be living. So essentially, everybody relies on a 9-to-5 for their income, right? And you want to replace that 9-to-5 with passive income. So the way we do it is with real estate. Some people do stocks, they do businesses, etc. You just want to create a passive income coming in where you don't have to rely on a 9-to-5. And once your passive income reaches a certain threshold, now you don't have to work at all if you didn't want to. You can leave that job and focus on your passive income or your side income and really scale. So that's pretty funny how you said that. Same thing for the for cleaning out the truck analogy. That's what I tell everybody. Everyone's like, oh, how should I get started? You know, should I go create an LLC? Should I go do this? Should I go do that? I always tell people the same thing. I say, why would you incur fees and all of these, all this paperwork, all this money spent? Test the product. You might not even like being a landlord. You might not even like renting properties out to people or doing this type of business or doing that. You know, you never know your opinion. So just do it all for free, get as far as you can, then start investing money back into the business once it starts generating revenue. So that's what I would say as well. It's pretty funny. Talking about that. So let's pretend. So now you know how to buy a property, or you know the strategy, you kind of learned about it. And what was the next step after that? After you learned how to do it or what you wanted to do, what did you do next?
it was looking at properties. So every weekend, any chance I got, really. And then that's when I was traveling for work. So I really only had weekends. So I would be monitoring the MLS. I wasn't a realtor at the time when I first started looking for my first investment property. But just every weekend I was looking at multifamilies, and that really helped me hone in on where I wanted to buy and where I didn't, what I wanted, what renovations I thought I could take on. Because I had no prior renovation experience. So just really looking at property, understanding tenant situations, locations. The first one I bought, actually, it was sight unseen. It came on the market on a Tuesday, but I knew from looking at so many properties that this is a location I want. And the renovation project, I knew, hey, I can handle this. So I ended up submitting an offer. I was pacing back and forth. Do I do it? Sight unseen, first one, didn't even see the property yet, just from the photos on MLS. But I knew I had a home inspection period, so I could get out if I wanted. Ended up submitting it, got it accepted, and that was it, really.
Wow, that's crazy. Sight unseen for his first property. I tell that to a lot of people who are just getting started. I add them to a MLS notification. So it's like an email thread where they'll start receiving notifications in their inbox daily, right in the morning, and they'll be able to see more or less properties that fit their specific search criteria. So then they start to learn the market. They know more or less what things are out there for sale, pricing wise, rent wise. And before we even go and look at an open house, look at a property, they are already far above the competition because they already know more or less what market values should be in this area because they were added to the search criteria. So now, like he said, he knows, this 3-family might be worth 550 or 575 or 600 or 650 just because they know has a garage, has a driveway. They've seen other properties similar to this one. So they know when they see a good deal, they got to jump on it like he did.
Yeah, and you don't need to have everything like figured out too. Like I had no idea how to do vinyl plank flooring or cut in paint on the ceiling or do cabinets. But YouTube was a huge help, and just putting in the work every day and getting it done. Yeah.
So after you bought the first one, what did you do after that? Just because I'm curious, because the first one's always like, a little nerve-wracking. Then you get it, and now you're like, this isn't even so bad. And then when did you get your next one and your next one and your next one?
So the first one was MLS. The second one was through a cold call off market. So the first one was actually the only one I bought on market. Everything's been off market since, mainly through cold calling. So I started using what's called Mojo Dialer and a Google Voice number to call. And I downloaded it from public records, which is free. Doesn't cost anything. You can get a list of all the property, like the multifamily, say 3 to 4 units in New Bedford. And I was just calling them, making connections with people, staying in touch, the follow-up. Ended up finding my second one was a 4-family, which I did an FHA loan on. So my first one was a conventional owner-occupied loan. Lived in that one for 2 years and then used an FHA loan to buy my second one, which was a 4-unit on Central Avenue in New Bedford, which I still own today. To get into that one with low money down, 3.5%.
Wow, that's huge.
So a lot of people think like you can't get the second one FHA, which I went through 5 mortgage lenders telling me there's no way. Like we don't believe you're gonna live in it. We're not financing that. It took one guy to say he could get it done, which I was skeptical the whole time because so many people told me no. But there was my chance to get it. Just went through the process, ended up closing on it. Reason being is because they want to see you like an improvement, like go from a 4-family to a 3-family, less tenants to do a second FHA loan.
Yeah.
So I was going from a 3 to a 4. Another way to see it as an improvement is not more bedrooms. So going from a 1-bed to a 3, like having more living space. Maybe you're growing your family there. So I was going from a 3 to a 4 and a 3-bedroom to a 1-bedroom.
Yeah.
So no, like just negatives there. But the way I pitched it was a safer location, which it was. It was not on a busy street. It was a safer neighborhood of New Bedford. And that
you didn't have kids at the time, right?
No.
Okay.
No kids at the time. But
it's like I was just scared for my life over there,
Yeah, no, the lender was a huge help getting it down too. So
a lot of the times too, it's the underwriter. Like the lender can throw it in, and the underwriter can basically say, nope, doesn't score out. That's why a lot of people are a little nervous doing something like that because they don't want to be on the hook, essentially saying, hey, the loan didn't clear out. But I know I had a similar story just like that, and we ended up not being able to do it that way, but we could still get it done conventional, which was 5%. So the person had to put down, instead of 3.5, we ended up having to put down, I think it was like 1.5, and it still cleared out the loan. So we're still able to get it done. But that's awesome. I like that idea of being able to go from a 3 to a 4. I've been asking a lot of people about that because I'm like, I want to go from a 1 to a 4. Like, no, it's not possible. I'm like, okay.
It's possible. It's challenging.
Yeah.
But my first one, I was planning to do 5% down. And I did the one thing they tell you not to do is you never leave your job during the underwriting process.
Yeah.
Have an offer accepted. And I did. I just couldn't take it anymore. The lender had told me that so long as it's like a similar field with equal or more pay, like no problem, which it was. But what I didn't know, and he didn't know either, because I didn't know like the question to ask at the time was, so it was a contract job I was moving to. So it was temporary. So I ended up, instead of having 5% down, they required me to bring 20 for that first one, which was, luckily that's like what I had saved up at the time, but I was taking on a renovation project. So buying that one with a 20% down, although I could pull it off, I would have no funds remaining for the renovation to come, which I had to renovate 2 of the 3 units. So I had a Jeep Wrangler at the time, sold it. I had a Boston Whaler boat that I liked going out on. Sold that just to acquire the money
for the renovation
to do it. Yeah. So I think the lesson there is just like when you have obstacles to just like figure it out, and you can get it done. If there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah, and have money in reserves too. I tell that all the time. You have to think about how much money it's going to cost to purchase the property, but also have money on the side for reserves. So to foot the bill for the mortgage or for renovations, or random things happen all the time. I had a water heater go out on a property, and it was less than, I think it was like 4 or 5 years old, and normally they last about 7 years, right? You just never know. Luckily with that situation, the water heater was only with warranty because it didn't hit the 7-year mark. So I was able to get at least the materials for free, right? But you still have to pay a plumber to put it in. It still costs money. So you always want to have money on the side for reserves, for renovation costs, repairs, mortgage, etc. Luckily, he had what do you have, a boat and a jeep?
Yeah, it's all like 13-foot Boston whaler, tiny little. It's like a dinghy, but would go out and cruise like the harbor.
Did you buy it back afterwards?
No, I haven't bought anything else like that since. So
that's fine.
Sold the Jeep, got a beater like Toyota Tacoma 2005, 5-speed, and bought it cash, no loan. So
smart.
It helped. But
so you bought a 3-family,
then a
20% down.
Yeah.
Then a 4 with 3.5
FHA. Yep.
And the second one you found it off market. What did you just call random multifamilies on the market, or did you do driving for dollars? How did you get that target list?
So I got it from it was just for a public records download. Like I just filtered
delinquencies, or just 3 to 4?
Just blanket everything in New Bedford, 3 to 4 units, one that haven't sold within the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And then just called through all of them, and I got the 4 unit that I ended up buying. It's very rare this happens. Most times people are not ready to sell at the time of that first contact. It can take like 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years of follow up. But he was like, "Yeah, I'm ready to sell it. I think in like 2 weeks." So like that was I haven't really had one as quick as that, but ended up meeting with him and his son, and bought the property. So
that's awesome. He's right though, because I've cold called a lot of people. Most of the time, you got to call them 2, 3, 4 times. And sometimes they'll say, "Hey, no, I'm all set." Hang up. I'm calling again. So I'm working on a deal right now. I've been talking to her for about, I think, 1.5 years now. And she's telling me every time I call her, "Call me back in 6 months. Call me back in 6 months." And
classic.
I'm going to keep calling back every 6 months, because you just never know, right? At the end of the day, if the property makes sense for me, it makes sense for them to sell. It's a win-win situation, and I want to be a part of that win-win situation. So, but that's awesome. You were able to get that person right away, huh?
Yeah.
So then what did you do after that? Like, tell me the rest.
Yeah, so so I have I have 9 rental properties now, 38 apartments across those 9 properties. 16 of those apartments I own 100% myself. The other 22 I own 50-50 with a business partner. So we've
Is it the same partner or multiple?
Same partner.
Okay.
Yeah. So the third one that I bought personally was a 6-family in Fall River. That was also a cold call. So the way I bought that one, and that's when I was like gearing up. I wanted to leave my day job. That's why I got into real estate. I wanted to have the time freedom, the flexibility.
How many years into real estate were you like, "I am done with my day job"?
I probably could have done it a lot sooner, but
you held back
3 years. So I've been I've been in it for 6 years. This November will mark my 3rd full-time year.
Wow.
But that first 3-family on County Street, it was that one that set me up to where I am today. So I ended up selling that one. So buying that one, it allowed me to I was actually profiting to live every month. So I was putting money aside. Like I didn't have I had a housing expense, but it was paid for. And I was actually, the income coming in was higher than the expenses by like $500 per month. So that allowed me to save up quickly for that 4-family. And so I had those 2 rentals. I ended up selling the 3-family. Just the state of the market at the time was insane. It made a lot of sense. I looked at it from a few different angles, but it made a lot of sense to sell it. So I did a 1031 exchange, which is like a tax deferred strategy, which I can explain what that is too. But basically sold that, rolled the profits into a 6-family. I did a partial 1031. So half of the proceeds went into the 6-family. The other half I kept liquid in my bank. And that's what gave me the nest egg to like leave my day job and go into real estate full time. And I knew once I got the 6-family up to market rate rents and stabilized, which took a year and a half to do, I knew that I would have enough cash flow. Whereas, hey, if I didn't do any real estate sales for a year, which I knew wouldn't happen, I'd be okay. I could scrape by.
Wow.
Which I knew, like, based off what I was doing it like part-time. If I'm full-time involved, the chances I do no transactions is 0%. So
you weren't nervous at all leaving your full-time day job to go into entrepreneurship? Because a lot of people have, that issue. They're tiptoeing, they're in and out a little bit. They're kind of like, I can't leave this. They call it the golden handcuffs, basically, where it's like a 6-figure job or whatever it is. And they have, steady income, they have health insurance, paid vacations, paid sick time, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, you don't have that luxury. So a lot of people are tiptoeing in and out, and you had no issues with that?
no, I definitely did. I was definitely nervous, but and the nervousness is what kept me from doing it like the first 3 years. Whereas I probably would have been fine and would have made it. But what gave me the confidence was the cash flow, which that's what was always like keeping me from doing it. Was I wanted to have the cash flow from the rentals like exceeding my living expenses. So at that point, although I was nervous, I knew that if I just jump in right now, I'll swim. Like, I'll be fine.
You had the recurring revenue from your 6-family and your 4-unit.
Yeah.
And then you also had a little bit of money from real estate coming in as far as sales and things like that. And you had a nest egg on the side.
Nest egg, yes, from the sale of the 3-family.
Okay. How long did you have the 3-family before you sold it?
2 years. So
2 years? Wow.
So I bought that in 2019 for I think it was $210,000 or $215,000. And then I sold it for $435,000.
Wow. Do you think that was pure luck, or was it a value add situation?
It was value add, but also there's part of luck with it too. But how the market, like, no one expected the market to go like straight up from 2019 to where we are now.
When was COVID? COVID was around
2020, 21 or so.
Yeah.
But also like putting yourself in that situation to be lucky too.
Yeah.
Because like if I didn't buy that property at that time, I wouldn't have went up as the market went up.
100%. That's why I tell people all the time too is, if you have no money in the market, you're not going to benefit from when the market goes up. A lot of people are scared, like, oh, what if it comes down? What if it comes up, right? If you have 4 different properties and they all go up in value $20,000 to $25,000 per year, you just made $100,000 in passive income strictly just from appreciation, not including the cash flow month to month, not including the tax deductions that you get from these properties. So real estate is an amazing thing to get into. If you guys are not currently in real estate, I'm going to plug myself in right now. Give me a call or text at 774-992-9766. And I'd be happy to help you out. Look for your first property or increase your portfolio and kind of go from there. So my very important question is this. When did you start almost, it was like, I call it the snowball effect, where this one thing caused all these other things to happen. You could say it was that first property you bought, but when was the next one? So the first 3-family, made you have access to getting other properties, but when was the big, huge, like, catalyst effect?
So I don't know if there's a big, huge catalyst effect, but I think partnering up with someone helped. So we were able to acquire not only rental properties, but flips as well, to give us some lump sums to purchase additional long-term buy and holds.
Yeah.
So we did our first flip in Providence, Rhode Island, and rolled that into another flip in New Bedford, a 3-family, and then bought a 7-unit. So in New Bedford as well. So
that's a long-term hold, or was that a flip?
The 7-unit, long-term hold. So I still have that one. And then just capitalizing on the BRRRR method. So you buy a distressed property, something that needs work, whether it's renovations or tenant issues or a combination of the both, which it usually is.
Yeah.
Buying it at a discount and then renovating it, getting it stabilized with tenants at market rate, and then refinancing into long-term debt and pulling the cash out. And then you can just basically recycle it and keep going with the same money.
Yeah. So a lot of people do that when they have a small nest egg. So I'd say, for example, you buy a property for $400,000, right? I like to give examples because I always get confused with people are just talking. So say you buy a property for 400,000 and the renovation is 100,000, right? You are total all in at 500,000. If you borrow money from the bank, let's say it's worth 650, they're going to give you up to 75% of that. So I think that would be like right around, let's just pretend it's 450 just for quick numbers, but I really don't know how much it is, but let's just pretend it ends up being 450, 75% of that. Now you're only going to be into that deal for around 50,000 that you left into the property. So that 50,000 is a lot less than normally if you had to go and buy a 4-unit or a 6-unit. Most people, when we get, you get to multiple different properties, you have to put down 20, 25%. So the alternative to that is 120,000 or 130,000 each deal you do. If you do the BRRRR method, you leave less money in the deal. And sometimes if you really buy it right, you leave no money in the deal and you can reuse that same money to go out and buy another project. So that's the goal, is to try and leave as minimal money into each of these properties as possible, have it renovated, have it cash flow, have it stabilized, have it rented, and then pull that money right back out and go out and buy another one. So that's what he was kind of getting at with the BRRRR method. You mentioned something before, and I want you to go back to it. So you mentioned the 1031 exchange. What is that? For the people who don't know, explain it as simple as possible. What's a 1031 exchange?
So a 1031 exchange it's a like-kind exchange. So basically you're trading one property for another one of equal or more value. So say like a 3-family to a 6-family. So you're essentially, instead of when you sell a property, you have the capital gains tax. Instead of paying that capital gains, you roll those profits into another purchase. But that next purchase needs to be equal or more value. The challenge with a 1031 exchange is, so they give you 180 days to close on the property, but you have to identify that property in 45 days, which is like trying to find a property in 45 days. It's
very difficult.
It's very difficult. So what I did there is I actually found that 6-family that I did the 1031. I found that off market. It was just me and the seller. So I already had that property identified, under contract, subject to the sale of my County Street property. So it was actually a pretty seamless process, and I did a partial 1031. A lot of people think that you need to roll 100% of the profits into that property. I did half, and I kept the other half liquid for the renovation on the 6-family. So the 1031 exchange, those funds, you have to go through a 1031 intermediary. So they hold the funds in their escrow account. You can't take those funds into your account. Once you do, you have to pay the capital gains tax on it, I'm pretty sure. So that's an important part of it as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So say, for example, if he made $200,000 on a property, if he was to just sell the property straight up and take those funds, he'd have to pay a lot of taxes, probably like 20, 30%, whatever your tax bracket is, capital gains tax. Instead of him having to pay that tax, what he did was he 1031 exchanged the proceeds of the property and bought another property with the same money. Basically, the money never actually hit his account. It went to a escrow account, right?
Yeah, 1031 intermediary in their escrow account,
and they essentially held that money and used it most of it to purchase another property. So
I actually, I paid like no taxes on that sale, even though it was like a huge profit on that first one. After holding it for 2 years, the key there, in addition to that 1031, because I did keep the other half, which could have been taxable. Right, I lived in it lived in one of the units for 2 years. So if you live in a property as your primary residence for at least 2 out of the last 5 years, doesn't even need to be consecutive. You can wipe the the tax out.
Yeah.
I thought that I was going to wipe out everything, but I guess with a 3-family, since you're only living in 1/3 of it, paid that knocks out 1/3 of it. Yeah. So I learned that through that process, but it was a huge savings.
Yeah. So the important thing is you learn as you go. Did you know any of this when you were doing it, or did you just learn as you go, or did you have like some sort of mentors or someone you can give credit to?
I kind of like built the parachute on the way down. Definitely had different mentors locally, but also podcasts, reading books. So I didn't have any real estate knowledge prior, no family in real estate, no friends really pushing me to get into it. It was just really self-development and wanting to learn more, getting out of the situation that I was in and building something different and going a different path in life, pretty much.
So you mentioned having a partner earlier. How do you feel about partnerships? There's a lot of people that say, you know, partners are for dancing, right? So they don't believe in that. How do you feel about partnerships?
I think partners can be great, and we've had a great partnership. We started buying property together in 2019, and we're still doing it today. So I think just collaborating well together, maybe one person works well in one aspect of the business and then the other does well in the other aspect. But working together, there's going to be differences, but it can be a huge plus, I think, if you have the right one.
Yeah. So what did your other partner bring to the table at the time? Because sometimes people, they'll bring the money and the other person does all the work, or, you know, 50-50. What was the agreement you had with them? Did they already have real estate experience, or were you the one that had all the real estate experience?
No, we both had similar experience. So we both started with a house hacking strategy, owned a couple. I was more like the personal meeting with sellers, like building that relationship.
Yeah.
It was more the numbers, also marketing, like just getting us into doing direct mail, cold calling. We had some radio ads. So that was, and he took like that head on, getting that going. So getting the lead generation. So that worked out well.
Did you have any luck with sending out letters? And we've had a lot of people, they just rip it up, throw it away.
It's expensive. Got 1 3-family through direct mail.
That's good.
I've gotten some listings that way too, but mainly it's the bread and butter's been the cold calling. I find that to be the most effective and efficient.
Have you figured out a way to filter through that list? Because of, you know, you went from, you know, all multifamilies from 2 to 4 units in New Bedford. I know some people, they focus on the tax delinquency list and probate. Is there any list that you focus on?
There's definitely some good niche lists. So driving for dollars is always a classic, where you drive around, you look for properties that are maybe boarded up or have overgrown grass, or maybe you have the mailbox is overflowing, or you drive in the winter and the snow isn't plowed out of the driveway. So it's just signs of vacancy or lack of like just attention to the property. It's also code violations. You could also target people with the water shut off. You can target people going through evictions, which is great for purchasing multifamily. So there's different lists that you can't target that's more honed in as well.
That's interesting. Have you ever lost money on a deal in real estate? Like, what's the most amount of money you've lost in real estate, and why did you lose the money if you have lost it?
So most of them have done very well. I did lose money on one last year, which is the worst deal I've ever done. There's and a lot of lessons learned from it. So it was in Taunton. It was a single family. It was a tiny little single family, like 600 something square feet. And the renovation was nice. Like, I did it over, put a lot of money into it, renovated it beautifully. People loved the inside and the different fixtures, but there was like 3 strikes against the property. It was tiny. It was on a very small lot, like no yard. And it was a shared driveway, and the owner next door, the neighbor, really owned the driveway, but we could use it to pull through and park in the backyard, which was essentially the parking area. So it was like 3 strikes on the property, and the margins were just too tight as is. So I think I lost about $3,000 on that one. After, well, I had the real estate commission on it, so it was really like 10.
Yeah.
But I got since I'm a realtor, I listed it myself, so I made a little bit back as well on the commission. But a lot of lessons learned on that one. Like, just going forward, I think with maybe 1 strike on the property, fine. But once you get into 2, like it was very tiny. It was a small little house, 2 bedrooms upstairs, slanted ceilings, bathroom downstairs, which people didn't like. The shared lot and the shared driveway and a small lot. That was just that was
what was the price
feedback.
What was the price point on that? Like 2, 3?
Yeah, so that one I think I bought for $192 and then ended up selling for somewhere in the low 3s, but it took about maybe, I forget exactly, 6 to 9 months to sell. So when you're buying these flips, buying them cash, we're using hard money, which is essentially a high risk short-term loan. It's 12% interest. So the payments, you're paying interest only. So those soft costs accrued each month. The renovation cost, even though it was a small house, like 650 square feet, I think I the renovation was like 20 grand over budget.
Yeah.
And it was a small margin to begin with.
Yeah.
So I think I was just trying to like force a deal pretty much.
Quick math on that too. That was like almost $4,000 a month that you're footing the bill on, right? It was like 3,600 more or less for hard money.
It was about that. Especially as you start pulling the draws, like the renovation money, and that payment goes up each month. So
wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
Lessons learned though.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's like exposure wise. I think the more that you do, the more likely you are to potentially lose money or break even, right? I mean, I think $3,000 to $10,000 loss is practically negligible in real estate. You know, that's a good case scenario. For as many deals as he's done, he's only done one loss.
One loss, yeah.
And it was very minimal. That's great. That means his underwriting process is A1. I've been fortunate enough not to have had any losses yet, knock on wood. But once again, my exposure rate is very low because I don't have as much experience as Zach. He's been doing this for six or 7 years, more or less. So, and it's amazing to think about that. He started around 2019, 2020, and you have 33 units, you said?
38.
38 units, and he only started 6 years ago. That's crazy. At the age of, how old are you?
I'm 33.
33 years old, 38 units, started 6 years ago. That's crazy. That's amazing right there. That means he's doing something right. So that's what I like to do, is I like to partner up with people or pick people's brains when they've had a lot of success like that. I mean, clearly he's doing something right? So I like to, when I ask these questions, I like to ask them, I say, hey, what are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? And I learn from that, because I'd rather learn from the mistakes of others than me myself making those mistakes, because they can get expensive. I mean, imagine if I made three $10,000 mistakes, that's $30,000 in lost money, right? And also potentially lost even more money, because that was money that was tied up that I could have used to go buy another deal, right? So when you know, talking about that, when you know when it's right to buy the next deal, right? Like, do you have a certain amount of like risk tolerance where you're like, 2 or 3 deals is enough, let me just relax right now, I got too much on my plate? Or you'll grab anything as long as it makes sense?
I think it depends on your risk tolerance and also the deals that you find. So a lot of times when I'm looking for flips or multifamily, so long as the numbers work, I think I'm ready to do it at all times. So with a flip, I'm looking at, usually I'll take the ARV, and I want to buy that at like rough numbers, like 60% of the after repair value, the ARV. With multifamilies, it's say 80 to 75% minus the repairs. So as long as it hits within my buy box, I'm usually able to pull it off. It can get tight at times, but just always like running it at a like stress test the property, and make sure at a worst case scenario that you'll be okay and be able to get through. So
what do you run your single families at, or multi-families? How much do you budget for profit? Like, if you do, some guys are like, oh, I won't, get out of bed for less than 100,000 profit. What's the number?
More so like an ROI, like 20% return is usually like the bare minimum. A lot of times I exceed that by a lot, but that's usually the minimum. So that's how I'm able to determine like do you take the ARV, take what you think it's going to cost to renovate it, bake in the soft costs, like the holding costs, the mortgage payment, the taxes, insurance, and you can like reverse engineer what you need to purchase it at, essentially.
Yeah. So you don't do like a specific number, like I need 20, 30, 40,000 per flip?
I think it can depend on like the risk of that property. Like if I'm buying a flip that is going to be in and out and it's all cosmetic work and it's not a huge risk, even like a $20,000 profit, but you're in and out in 2-3 months, that's great. Versus if you take that same property, but it's a huge like a massive renovation, and it's taking 6 months, and you're gonna make 20,000 on it, or 30. I don't think that's worth it. So I think it can be, you got to account the risk of that property and how long it's going to take to renovate it, and a few different factors.
So your timeline is like roughly like 3 to 6 months on flips. You want to be in and out, right?
That'd be great. Yeah. Mostly like they're a little more intense than that. Usually like 6 to 9. I've had some take up to a year. So, but those the profit has made sense on those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's pretend you're brand new, right?
Mhm.
And you can go back, starting from scratch. What would you do differently, or how would you do things? If going back, knowing already what you know, how would you start all over again? What would you do?
Yeah. So going back, if I were to start over, I would still do the house hack strategy. I think that is the best way to get started, where you use an owner occupant loan, you live in one unit, you rent out the others. I would start with a 3 or a 4 family, ideally a 4 family. But what I would do differently, because I think when I got started, I looked at like 75 properties before I bought one. Or it could have been more. It took me a while. I had a certain number that I wanted to hit. And if that and it was a cash flow number, which was very important to me at the time. And if I was even just like $50 off, $30 off per month, I wouldn't buy the deal. And looking back, like those would have been phenomenal deals. I think it would have been better to just get started, get that first property sooner, instead of looking for that perfect deal and all to pencil out correctly, like the exact way I want it. I think just get in, get your feet wet, get experience, see if you even like it, and learn how to deal with the tenants, how to renovate a property. I also renovated that one myself. I would say like 95% of it, which took me like 6 to maybe 9 months to do. I had some help, but I was basically like leaving my day job. I was living at my parents at the time. I would scarf dinner over the kitchen sink real quick, race to the property, work there from like 6 p.m. till 2 a.m, for just day after day, month after month for like 6 months. That took a ton of time. I would probably hire it out, although that was a great learning experience because it taught me how to renovate a property, what it takes, so I know what I'm paying people for when I hire it out. So I don't know if I would change that because it was a great learning experience, but there is a value to like the time. I could have hired that out and got the apartment rented a lot quicker than doing it myself. But I would definitely say like just getting that first property sooner. That doesn't mean overpay for a property or to buy when you're not ready exactly, but just get that first one sooner rather than later and get experience with it.
Yeah. As like the saying, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The next best time is today, where you just got to get in the market, start doing things, right? A lot of people, they'll hesitate, they'll overanalyze situations. I was talking to a friend of mine almost a year ago, and he's like, yeah, I'm super excited. I just got this brand new job. I'm going to start investing in real estate, doing this, doing that. I talked to him recently. I'm like, hey, how's your journey going? He's like, oh, I'm still looking into it. It's like, okay, cool, man. Like maybe next year when I talk to him again, he's still going to be looking into it. It's just one of those types of situations where he's definitely just overanalyzing the situation, and he should just jump right in and kind of learn and go from there. The best way you learn is by doing things. I did the exact same thing as Zach. My first property I purchased, I fixed the whole thing up. I did this flooring, the paint, the trim, everything, which was great because I learned from it. But guess what? You start analyzing, you're like, was it really worth it for me to save, whatever, $500, $1,000, right? And I had all that time frame where the property was vacant. It wasn't cash flowing. Does that really make sense? I personally don't think so. I like to see how fast can I be in and out? How fast can I make this property cash flow and kind of go from there? Where, perfect example, I had a friend of mine, he purchased a 3-family. Over a year ago, he purchased a 3-family, and he's been asking me for help, guidance, things like that. I gave him contractors. Most of the work he's been doing himself, little by little. So I analyzed the deal with him the other day over breakfast, and I said, look, this is how long it would have taken me with my contractors, about, let's just say 3 to 4 months to do the property over again completely. This is how much more or less it would have cost, and this is how long you've owned the property for, right? We did out the numbers, and if he would have done the contractors and rented it out right away, he would have made $4,000 or $5,000, even though it would have costed him more money up front. And it's not because he didn't have the money that he didn't want to do it. It's just because, once again, he wanted to be in control. He wanted to try and save that money. So a lot of times you're jumping over a penny to save a dollar, right? Or however the saying goes. But you got to really analyze these situations and kind of learn from people who have experience doing these things, and that way you're not spinning your tires and you're kind of progressing in the right direction.